You cannot sustain a long-term positive relationship with people that you hate.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
I don't know why, but human psychology and why people do what they do and how they do what they do and customer service, I don't know, it's just always intrigued me. Had a couple of experience kind of back to back. In fact, some of them happened the same day recently that I want to share with you, and I hope that this can translate into what you are doing in your appraisal office. Want to pause here, remind you that we are sponsored by 3 great companies. Speaking of great customer service, folks, I don't know when the last time you had to pick up the phone and call a la mode, but they have the best technical support in the industry, truly. Truly know what they're talking about. They will walk you through the program. They'll walk you through the problem. They'll work out any bugs. It's great. Check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. We, of course, are sponsored by DataMaster, DataMaster being the way that you can save 30 to 60 minutes per report. You can go to datamasterusa.com for more information. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. Finally, we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP, of course, is the insurance company that I use for my E&O. Folks, you got to have E&O anyway. You might as well have the best. It's OREP. You can find them at orep.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, so let's start with a negative. That's a good way to start a podcast, right? Let's start with a negative. And what I mean by the negative, I mean the negative experience that I had. Now, this company is going to remain unnamed, mainly because I also do appraisals for this company, though the experience that I had nothing to do with appraisals. It's a big bank, and it's where I bank, and I opened up, as part of the Profit First system, I opened up a second checking account underneath my businesses. And it's a long story. If you've not read Profit First, you need to. It's a great program. I've been using it for over a year now. Once a month, I sit down and I distribute my gross into different buckets. Okay. Now, my gross comes into a checking account mainly because that's the best source for automatic deposits for the clients that I have. Some of them do accept savings accounts, but it just works better if you've got a checking account. Now, this checking account typically had a dual purpose, or in the past had a dual purpose. Again, I don't want to get into the weeds too much on the Profit First, but I needed to open up a second checking account so that I've got one for direct deposits for the gross to come into, and then I've got a second one for purchases. So this would be the account that I would have my debit card on, for example. This would be the account that I would have checks made up on, for example. So when I need to pay people, when I need to buy something, it comes out of this account because that's the company distribution account. That's the company overhead account is really what I call it. The Appraisal Precision Overhead is what it's titled. In the past, that's been a savings account, and that's worked okay, but I found that I've needed checks for a couple of things, so I've decided to open up a second checking account. Okay, I could have erased the last 3 minutes and just said, I needed a second checking account. Now, here's the key. I already have accounts under the Appraisal Precision name at this particular bank. Okay, so I've already gone through the process of setting it up. And by the way, that was not an easy process. I was a little disappointed in the beginning with how consuming it was, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, I probably was at the banker's desk maybe 45 minutes. And keep in mind, I've got 3 businesses, I've got personal accounts. So he set up all of that in about 45 minutes, which was longer than I anticipated, but it, okay, whatever. It wasn't the end of the world. Now, fast forward, that was about a year ago. Fast forward, I now need to change one of those savings accounts to a checking account. Well, the first thing I do is walk into the bank, and nobody was sitting at the desk. You know how you walk into a bank, you got the tellers on one side, you got the desk. I knew I needed to talk to somebody at the desk, but nobody was there. So I walked in and I walked up to the teller because she was free. And I said, I think I need to talk to somebody at the bank. And she goes, oh, no, I can help you. Okay. I need to open up a second checking account. No, you'll need to talk to a banker. I'm like, I didn't say this, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's what I just said. That's what I said when I walked through the door. And remember, you're the one that said, no, I can help you. Don't say I can help you if you can't help me, right? Now, maybe she thought she could. I don't know. It was just frustrating, right? I knew what I needed when I walked through the door, and she thought she knew what I needed, but it wasn't what I needed. Anyway, that wasn't even the beginning. It was the beginning of what I will describe as a nightmare. And I'm going to give you the shortened version for purposes of brevity, right? I'm sure you don't care about all the nitty-gritty detail. But the gist of it was nobody was available. I told her what I needed to do. She said, well, you can do that online, And I'm like, oh, well, okay, cool. I'd much rather do something online than sit, at a bank for 30 minutes while they open up another account. And so I went through that process. Folks, it was ridiculous. It was insane. The amount of documents that they needed, the things that didn't get filled out properly, the wet signatures that they needed uploaded a certain way through a secure portal, on and on and on. At one point, I finally took all the paperwork to the bank, the same bank that I started out with, and I met with a banker this time. I said, listen, I'm trying to do this online, but this is ridiculous. Can I just give you this paperwork and can you upload it? She goes, oh yeah, no problem. So, of course, she looks over every single piece of paper, and there's probably 15 in there, right? And she double checks everything. And I think at one point she had me put my initials after my name. So I marked on there that I was the CEO of the company. And she said, can you just put, comma CEO at the end of your signature? Okay, fine, whatever. So I did that. It was just minor stuff. She uploaded it to the system, and then she said, do you want this paperwork back? And I said, do I need it? And she said, oh, no, it's in the system. I said, now, are you sure it's in the system? Maybe I should take the paperwork. She goes, no, it's in the system. It's not a problem. I can shred it for you. No problem. Okay, great. I walked out of the bank. The next day I get a call from a commercial banker at some big city back east wanting to talk to me about my paperwork. And I said, okay, yeah, no problem. I took it into the branch. She uploaded it. It should all be there. He says, it's not here. I'm like, okay, well, let me give you her. I took her card. I said, let me give you Jasmine's name and phone number and what branch she's at and her MLS number and everything else. And of course he called her. Well, here's the problem. He finally got a hold of her. She had not shredded the paperwork. She was able to re-upload it to him. And then, again, I'm going to save you all the details, but let's just say I had to go back and forth with him 3 other times before he was finally done with me. At one point, I said to him, because he wanted to verify the address of the business. And I said, well, what do you need to verify the address of the business? He goes, oh, I don't know, a piece of mail. And I said, I don't get mail at the business. I use my P.O. box. And he goes, well, that won't work. I've got to have something that says your business address on it that's official. And I said, well, you already have an account. I'm really confused why this is so difficult. I've already got an account set up there. And at that point, he says, oh, well, let me look at that. I'm thinking, really? Like, I've attached the account opening to the previous account. When I opened it online, they specifically said, which business do you want to log this account in with? And I specifically chose my appraisal account, right? Just ridiculous. Now, some of this might be technical. Some of this might be human error. Some of this might be red tape. I don't know. But folks, this was the most ridiculous experience that I've gone through. And I literally probably have spent 3 to 4 hours at this point opening up a second account. 3 to 4 hours to open up a sub account under an account I already had for my business. That, my friends, was experience number 1. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by companies that don't treat you the way this bank treated me. They are a la mode, Datamaster, and OREP Insurance. Let's talk first about OREP Insurance, folks. You have to have E&O anyway, right? Why not have the best company out there? When I say the best company out there, I'm talking about a company that loves to serve its customers. Not only do you get great insurance, folks, but take a look at the benefits of being an OREP member. For example, free continuing education each year. I took 14 hours last year. Super, super, super easy to do. One of the classes was taught by Tim Anderson. Just great. And it was free. And I got credit in all 3 states that I'm licensed in. How wonderful is that? OREP.org is where you go. That's OREP.org. We are sponsored by DataMaster. DataMaster is how I save 30 to 60 minutes per report. Now, that's what they claim. I'll tell you what my numbers show. Right around 45 minutes. So they're pretty accurate. 45 minutes per report that, let's be honest, I'm not doing that part anyway, right? That's a data entry clerk, but I'm paying somebody $12 an hour to enter that information, right? I am saving money with DataMaster. You will too. Whether you do it yourself or you have someone else do it, DataMaster can do it at the punch of a button. And in minutes, you can get about 45 minutes worth of labor taken care of on every single report that you do. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. Finally, we are sponsored, of course, by a la mode. A la mode is the software that I've been using to, write up my appraisals for over 2 decades. You should be as well. A la mode is the leader in the industry. It is the company that I go to and that appraisers go to across the nation to really get it done right. Check it out by calling them. You can call them at 800 a la mode, or you can dial in their URL on the website, www.alamode.com. It's that simple. Check them out, folks. If you're not using a la mode, you should be. It's alamode.com or 800 a la mode. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out with you, talking about I'll tell you, during the break here, I actually pulled up my account online, and I was just curious. I'm thinking, okay, they told me the other day, everything's taken care of, we're good to go, everything should be fine, and now I'm looking at my accounts, and guess what? Yeah, they're not there, neither one of them. I mean, this has just been the most frustrating thing you can imagine. And it should not have been. It should have been a very, very easy process. Now, at the very least, let's put it this way. A good company is going to take care of problems. Problems are going to arise, right? There's no perfect company. Every company out there has issues. It's how they handle those issues when they come up that really distinguishes a run-of-the-mill average company from one who has excellent customer service. Now, I don't necessarily blame the teller when I walked through the door. I don't blame the banker, that I sat down with and gave my paperwork to. I don't blame the individual that called me on the phone. I don't even blame, the unknown executive behind the curtain, if you will, right? I blame the decision makers on every level at this big bank, and you have to wonder how much longer they're going to be in business. Why? Because here's the thing, folks. There is a culture in businesses, and you start to learn which companies have a good culture and which ones just do not, right? Now, there's a reason, by the way, I went to this big bank about a year ago. I've been with my own bank. It's a regional bank. I've been with for, 25, 30 years, okay? And I closed all my accounts this last year, and I moved to a bigger bank, not because I loved the bigger bank. One of the biggest reasons, there was 2 main reasons. Number one, the ease of making deposits, okay? So through the mobile app. There's actually 3 reasons. The mobile app. Number 2 is they have branch locations all over the U.S. I do a lot of traveling, and there are times when I need to make a deposit or need to do some banking when I'm in a foreign city. And I could not do that with my regional bank. They just were not in very many of the cities that I travel to for my Dream Team group and other things. So that was number 2. Actually, there's 4. Number 3 was they closed the branch office that was nearest to my office. It literally was 2 minutes down the road, and now I have to drive 12 minutes to get to that bank's branch. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But the fourth reason, probably the biggest reason, was I have a bookkeeper and I have an accountant that I want to keep in the know. I don't want to have to deal with my own budgets. I don't want to have to deal with my own entries. I don't want to have to deal with my own reconciliation. I hire that out, right? And I was spending quite a bit of time every month printing out and sending over my statements, frankly, because I don't want to give my bookkeeper access to my bank account. I don't want to have them be able to make transfers and do hokey things that I might have to always wonder about. Even if I fully trust her, which I do, right? I've seen too many horror stories where my friends have been embezzled from, and it goes back to control of money. So I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to my money. This bigger bank was one of the only banks that I found would give me an accountant's view. Okay, and what that basically means is my bookkeeper now has the ability to log into my accounts, right? See everything, but not do anything. I love that. I don't have to spend a Saturday morning downloading and uploading, downloading statements to my computer and then uploading those statements through email, which you have to question whether it's even secure, right, to her so that she could do the reconciliation every month and to do my profit loss and my balance sheets. So that was probably the biggest reason why I switched to this bigger bank. Now, I have not been hugely impressed. I will be honest, there have been bank branches that I've walked into that have been very friendly and very helpful, but overall the culture, again, this is about company culture, it's about customer service culture. Overall, the culture, and by the way, I don't like to use the word customer service. The phrase I like to use is customer diplomacy. Okay? There is a difference between those two words. Anybody can serve you, but who can truly be a diplomat and really have your back, right? Use the right language, the right attitude, the right, hey, I'm here and I'm happy to serve you. I can tell you that that's happened on occasion with this big bank, but this experience that I've had recently was not one of them. Now, one of the biggest things, okay, and this to me is crucial. I don't know why I'm kind of a stickler on this. I'm a stickler on this when it comes to my employees. I'm a stickler on this when it comes to other things. Apologies mean a lot to me. Apologies are a big deal. I don't know why. Probably because they're hard to give, right? It's hard to admit that you were wrong, and it's hard to say I'm sorry. And when people do, I'm willing to give them a lot of slack. Not once in this whole process. Not the teller who got it wrong, not the individual who uploaded the documents who got it wrong, and not this individual who called me multiple times on this paperwork. Not one time did they say, I am so sorry, this is such a hassle for you. I apologize, let me fix the problem. Not once. Now, folks, that is not diplomacy. That is not a good company culture. Now, I have to ask you, again, we want to roll this over and talk about appraisals for a second. What is the company culture like at your place? Now, this next company I'm going to shout out by name, okay? I have never had a bad experience at Chick-fil-A. Now, I don't know if you like Chick-fil-A, if you don't like Chick-fil-A, I don't really care, right? That's not the purpose of today's podcast. What I want to talk about today is diplomacy, right? Now, sometimes my kids will laugh when we go through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A and they say, I bet you they're going to say, pleasure to serve you, or my pleasure. And they always do. But folks, that goes to company culture, right? My kids might laugh at it, but I appreciate it, right? Is it somewhat insincere because you know they're going to do it? Maybe, but it never rubs me the wrong way. It never grates on my nerves. When I hear someone at Chick-fil-A say, it's my pleasure, I believe them. Now, yesterday I had the experience of I was supposed to pick up my son from the doctor, right? Supposed to pick him up at 5:30, okay? At 5:20, I went to Chick-fil-A, which was literally around the corner from his doctor's office. Now, he had a class that he was going to at 6 o'clock. So I was to pick him up at 5:30, and I was supposed to drop him off at 6 o'clock. Now, if I pick him up at 5:30, it's a 25-minute drive on a good day, and I can usually drop him off 5 minutes before he starts his class. Well, going to Chick-fil-A has never been a problem, never been an issue. So I went, and yeah, the line was kind of long when it came to the drive-thru, but it wasn't too bad. And I knew that Chick-fil-A is on top of this, and they're speedy, and they do their thing, right? A long line at the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A is not usually a problem. I noticed that they had two, not one, but two people outside taking orders. You know how they'll come outside and actually take your order before you even get to the speaker so they can get it started? That told me enough to say, okay, I only have 10 minutes to pick up my son, but this is not going to be a problem. So at 5:20, I got in line. They took my order. My son is gluten-free. I'm not. So I made my order, and I said, now I want the exact same thing for him, but please make it gluten-free. Okay, no problem. So he read it back to me. So you've got a Chick-fil-A sandwich. You've got fries. You've got a diet lemonade. He's got a diet lemonade and fries. He's got a Chick-fil-A sandwich, but his is gluten-free. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay, great. So I sit through the line. I get up to the window. As I get to the window, she leans out and she said, now, did you want everything gluten-free or just the bun? And I'm kind of like, yeah, give me gluten-free bun, but give me a breaded chicken. I mean, it didn't make any sense at all. And I'm like, no, the whole thing needs to be gluten-free. And she's like, I am so sorry. And the supervisor behind her said, you know what? This is going to take about 3 or 4 minutes. Can I have you park? I'm so sorry about that. It is totally our fault. And you know what? That meant a lot to me. First of all, they told me how much time I'm going to be spending in the parking. Second of all, she apologized multiple times. Her supervisor apologized multiple times. They took responsibility and said, this is on us. I'm so sorry, right? And it was not a problem. So I got the drinks, and then I pulled around to the side, and I sat there, and I sat there, and I sat there, and I sat there. Folks, I was there for 12 minutes, okay? I know because I knew what time I needed to pick up my son, and I was already 2 minutes late, right? By the time they brought the food out. Now, by the time they brought the food out, she apologized profusely, and she said, I threw a couple of gift cards in there for you as well for your trouble. I am so sorry you've had to wait so long. Now, let me ask you a question. Am I going to go back to Chick-fil-A again? I'll be honest with you. If they had come out and not said anything and handed me the bag and said, had a nice day, no apology, no gift certificates, I would be questioning. I've got other choices when it comes to food. I do, right? I don't know that I would be going back to Chick-fil-A after that. Now, some of you would say, well, geez, Dustin, that's kind of harsh. You have all these good experiences and you have one bad experience. You wouldn't go back? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'd give them one other chance, but I guarantee I'd have one eye wide open on what happens next time I go. Maybe it's a fluke, right? But here's the thing, folks. Chick-fil-A, whether you like them or not, they have a company culture that I can count on time after time. Now, the apology, frankly, was enough. Almost. The apology made me feel better. When she added, I threw a couple of gift certificates in the bag for you as well, that sealed the deal. I will be going back to Chick-fil-A again. Now, Dustin, what the heck does Chick-fil-A and this big bank have to do with appraisals? Well, maybe not necessarily appraisals, but what about your company culture as an appraisal firm? Ask yourself the question and be honest with the answer. What is your company culture like? Now, I'm going to share with you something that I think that you need to listen to. And you may not think that I have a point here, right? But I want you to listen and really consider this. I used to have a company culture when it was okay to talk about the clients behind their backs as long as it wasn't to their face. Okay? I am embarrassed to admit that, but there's no secrets here. There was a time when maybe something would happen on the phone and my agents, my customer service agents, my employees would get off and say, oh my gosh, you're never going to believe what just happened. And we would all kind of have a good laugh about it. I don't do that anymore. I don't put up with that anymore. Here's why. When you're talking about somebody behind their back, I guarantee, whether you think it does or not, it's going to bleed over into other things. The way that you treat that person will be different next time. It might be in the tone of voice. It might be in the words that you choose. It might be in the words that you choose not to use. But it will bleed through. And so there is a policy now at my office that we speak about our clients the same way we would speak to our clients. That's about company culture. My customer service agents are trained to say, I am so sorry. This is our fault. Even if it's not, let me fix the problem. That's about company culture. Now, there's a reason I shared with you the anecdotal story of talking about clients behind their back, right? Some would say, well, who cares? They're not listening, right? There have been times, embarrassing times, when you maybe thought the phone was hung up and it wasn't. I can remember one time one of my individuals, who, by the way, does not work for me anymore for these kinds of reasons, who basically cursed at the individual before the phone was hung up. I got a call from that individual and said, I just thought you should know what I heard before the phone was hung up by one of your agents. She was super nice to me on the phone, and as she hung up the phone, she called me an a-hole. Let's just say that person got fired that day. Okay? Those things happen. They shouldn't happen, however, if your company culture is such that they don't happen. And you, as the leader in your company, set that precedence. Now, one of the things that I see quite often, and if I can just speak bluntly here for a second, I'm not talking to you, my listeners, I'm talking to other appraisers out there. But one of the things that I see is we live in and work in a profession that sometimes can be negative. Okay, when you get online, social media, what have you, it seems like, and forgive me for my language here, but there's a lot of bitching and moaning. There's a lot of complaining about fees and AMC's this and AMC's that. Folks, I guarantee to you that is going to bleed over into your company culture. I guarantee it's going to bleed over into the way that you treat those individuals, whether it be on email or whether it be on the phone or whether it be behind their back. Folks, you cannot sustain a long-term positive relationship with people that you hate. Let me repeat that. You cannot sustain a long-term positive relationship with people that you hate. So I want to ask you the question, are you working with why clients? Are you working with clients that you cannot stand, that you talk about behind their back, that frustrate you? I would encourage you to weed those individuals out, because the culture in your business, and I don't care if this is just you. When I'm talking about company culture, I'm not talking about a big firm like I've got with 10 plus people working in the office. I'm talking about the individual appraiser who is a solo person as well, because your company culture at that point is you, and your attitude about your clients, about your customers, about the borrowers will bleed through. I hope that today you've picked up some anecdotal things. I hope that today you've picked up some ideas as to how you might be able to improve your company culture. Now, if you're saying, well, Dustin, who cares? Big deal. Whatever. I still get business. I still do appraisals. I still work with AMCs, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. But folks, I guarantee when things slow down, it is those companies that will go to the other companies, meaning B2B business, okay? AMCs, lenders, what have you, will be turning to other appraisers because they enjoy their company culture. I want you to think about in your life the companies that you know every single time you're going to get positive, uplifting experiences when you work with them. You know who they are. You know right off the top of your head, when I tell you to think about those particular companies, there's companies that come to your mind. There's companies that you will go to time after time after time because you know that the company culture is good. Question: is your company culture that type of business? I promise that if you will work on your company culture, it will be reflected in your pocketbook. Speaking of your pocketbook and working on things that will improve how you are successful, I want you to check out a webinar called Rethinking Your Appraisal Business. I want you to learn the principles of how to be an appraiser, but more importantly, how to be an appraisal business owner. You can check it out by going to my website, theappraisercoach.com/products, and it is free with your All-Star Team membership. Again, it's called Rethinking Your Appraisal Business, free with your All-Star Team membership.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
It's a great Sorry, editor.